I hang my washing up.
Turn off the lights more than we used to.
Turn the heating down.
And you cook with lids, saucepan lids, instead of not.
Try not to fly.
Yeah.
That helps.
Oh, don't have children, be vegetarian.
I live in a very small flat in London. I use public transport, I don't drive, and I walk as much as possible.
We've installed a solar panel. We've turned our thermostats down.
I walk a lot more than I used to. I recycle a lot more, and I try and shop locally. Less big supermarkets, more smaller shops.
I don't fly anywhere in Europe anymore. I've turned vegetarian as well.
Oh yeah, no, it's been really good.
The story of Sanford started a long time ago. About 30 odd years ago, a group of housing activists decided that there needed to be more accommodation for single people because they found that a lot of the time single people had good incomes and landlords were happy to turn out families and put single people into their properties because it was more lucrative. And when they realised that this was happening, and they realised what had happened, that their house had been provided because someone else had been evicted in order to make room for a more lucrative customer, they became quite upset about that. So they raised some funds and they raised some awareness, and eventually they got hold of this piece of land which is between two railway lines, so nobody else wanted to build on it, so they got the land very cheaply.
It took 5 years' battle with bureaucracy before we could start to build. Government consent was finally given in January 1973. Each house has 10 bedrooms, sharing a farmhouse kitchen and 2 bathrooms and an extra WC. The co-op is owned by the tenants. 150 people, 150 shares, and each member has a tenancy agreement with the co-op of which he's an equal member. The Sanford Co-operative estate was opened in October 1974. Shortly afterwards, Prince Philip visited the scheme with members of the Department of the Environment, the Housing Corporation, Lewisham Borough Council and other interested groups.
Morning.
We do exist. Honestly, we do. Everyone we love it.
And this is the house 8. This is the kitchen. We've got a big living room here. This has been just built up. We broke all the wall, and this used to be 2 rooms. Each house has 10 rooms, and some of the houses, or most of the houses, they don't have living rooms, so people build up living rooms and they pay a little bit more for having a living room. And we have 2 rooms as a living room, which is quite lucky. We've got 4 rooms in each floor and a toilet. Shall I show my room? Yeah. This is my room. I've just moved in. It's full of boxes. All the rooms have this sort of size. Upstairs, the same thing. We've got this beautiful light coming, and then similar. And each house has a character. Some of the houses are more posh, some are more party, and some are more hippie. And yeah, it's really interesting to go into different houses.
There was a Royal Commission on Climate Change which said that we needed to lower carbon emissions by 60%, and as everybody needed to lower carbon emissions by 60%, so it wasn't adequate simply to build new homes that were 60% more efficient. We needed to change our existing homes to be 60% more efficient. So what we decided to do was to replace our existing gas boilers with wood pellet boilers rather than wood chip boilers. Another no-brainer is the solar hot water. Very, very simple piece of technology, used all over the world, particularly Africa, places like that. If you want hot water, you just stick some tubes of water on your roof, and very quickly you've got hot water.
Well, I think if you ask any anthropologist, they'll tell you human beings, they work collectively, well together, if the group doesn't exceed a certain size. There's limitations to how well we can understand and communicate. On a big housing estate with 30,000–50,000 people, you become invisible. But in a small community with 150, where the community is a political organisation as well as having a social life, it makes life a completely different situation where people feel more empowered.